Welcome to Paddy's Say, our regular chat with Swindon trainer Paddy Fitzpatrick. How you doing, Paddy?
Excellent. The sun's out, man.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us as always, Paddy. It's a burning topic at the moment. Professionals looking like they're going to be allowed to box at the Olympics. What's your immediate thoughts about that? Immediate
thoughts for me is it's not for me. You know, the pros are the pros and the amateurs are the amateurs. That's my immediate thoughts.
Okay, it's, the AIBA look like they're going to push forward, you know, changing the regulations, somehow allowing professionals to box. I don't know how the qualification would be affected and how it exactly would work, but if you've got a boxer that's, you know, an amateur that's trained 3-4 years, they're burning desire to get to the Olympics, and then Amir Khan, Floyd Mayweather, Tyson Fury comes in and takes your slot, that's going to be pretty hard to take, isn't it?
It's going to be hard to take, and also you wonder, like you say, which pros qualify? I'm sure that they won't be. I'm sure they'll be picking named pros. So, you know, it's overlooking, like you say, everyone that's worked hard. The amateurs have got to go through so many hoops and so many different stages and fights and competitions in order to qualify for the Olympics, and then to have maybe a pro qualifying just based on his name and his recognition as a pro, that'd be pretty hard to swallow. Yeah.
Does it, you know, if this is to happen, does it in many ways, you know, massively devalue, strange saying devalue when you're bringing some of the best boxers to it, but does it devalue what the Olympics is all about?
Yeah, it does in a way, doesn't it? Because the Olympics is supposed to be the best amateurs in the world, not the best amateurs in the world and some of the best pros in the world. So it does, but AIBA are just, in my eyes, from what I can see, they just changed the rules to suit themselves. And they're more and more trying to just take over boxing as a whole, not just amateur boxing, but boxing as a whole. But the WSB is kind of like a semi-pro, isn't it? They're 5 rounds, 3-minute rounds, headgears off. And gradually, I think it's getting to the stage where they'd like to have guys contracted to them by the time they turn pro or whatever else. So they're trying to monopolise it a little bit, I think.
Do you think it's a little bit of a publicity stunt?
I don't know. If it doesn't happen, then it was just a publicity stunt. But if it does happen, then it wasn't, is it? It's something beyond that. And like I say, it's kind of like trying to take a monopoly on the sport.
Obviously, when you're an amateur, whether you're fighting in this gym as an amateur or Walcott or wherever, or you're training with the England camp, you know, ahead of the Olympics or the Commonwealths, you're preparing for, you know, 3-minute rounds. There's a way to score points. There's a way to win. Yeah. And we've seen many boxers. I'll give you an example. James DeGale, who found the transition, you know, fantastic amateur, found the transition from amateur to professional boxing very, very difficult. Now he's there. Obviously, he's a world champion. Yeah. It's fantastic to see. So how does, if a professional is to go back to the Olympics, you know, take Anthony Joshua, for example, you know, how would he then go back to doing 3-minute rounds? It's crazy, isn't it?
I think for somebody like Anthony Joshua, it probably wouldn't be that difficult because I think it's still fresh in him. He'd be able to go through a camp and get back to that scoring system, like you say. But it is different because I think the best amateurs in the world would probably beat the best pros in the world over 3 rounds, you know, because it is a different style and it is what they're used to. And as a pro, you don't necessarily plan to lose any rounds, but you understand that the overall fight is fought over 12 rounds. So sometimes you will be using rounds to set a man up for what you're going to do later on, whereas you can't take as much time to be setting shots up or setting up different scenarios in the amateur game because, you know, once the second bell is gone, you've only got 1 bell left. So it starts and finishes before you realise it is a different scoring system, yeah.
Are there any dangers with professionals suddenly taking on, you know, amateurs? If there was an Anthony Joshua to take on the top American heavyweight, for example, that was an amateur that had built up over, you know, 2-3 years for this?
I don't think there's any more danger. It's 2 men or 2 women in there fighting. I don't think there's any significant difference in the dangers of it. I just think I don't have a taste for it. I just think that the amateurs start out, you know, every amateur would love to be an Olympic champion. Every pro would love to be a world champion. And when you think that it's hard enough as it is to get recognised and to get onto, let's say, for example, over here, to get onto the GB squad, and then to get recognised within the GB squad, and then to pass all the, let's say, the tests, the tournaments and that they got to go through to qualify. And then you're up against the being picked over, or having a pro picked over you. That's what I'd love to know, how they're going to pick the pros. Is it, for example, going to be Tyson Fury, you want to box in the Olympics? Of course. Floyd, you want to box? Of course, you can box. Rigondeaux wants to go back into it. Let's have him back. How do you qualify for it? That'd be the thing. These guys, it's their dream. And then to have it all taken away from them because somebody with more recognition wants to come into the games, that'd be a bitter pill to swallow.
Very harsh. I mean, at the moment, it's I've had a look around. It's pretty unclear, how you do the qualification stage. But I believe Team GB have 10 males, 3 females that they're allowed to pick. But do you think Team GB will pick a Tyson Fury, will pick an Anthony Joshua, a James DeGale, or do you think they'll, because that's a huge work in progress, Team GB. Do you think they'll stick to their guns with what they've been working on over the years and building the boxes they've been building? Because it's very much a program there, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't know what the process is going to be. I don't know how far this has been developed, or if it is just still a story at the moment. If it's for the Rio Games they're on about doing it, well then it could turn from a story into reality pretty quick, because it's only in the summertime and that's just around the corner. But I don't know who would be responsible for picking. So that's the thing. And would the top pros that are earning the significant money that they've been working hard their whole amateur career and pro career to get to, would they all of a sudden want to be then fighting in the Olympics for nothing? Or is there a financial incentive for them to fight in it, because of the recognition they'll bring to it? And if there is, if they're getting the financial, money for that, is what's happening in the amateurs? Are they just doing it for the glory? Is there an incentive, financial incentive for them? So it's very muddy at the moment for me. I haven't been paying enough attention to it, because when I first heard about it, I thought it's not in my taste, so I didn't bother delving into it too much. But I don't know who would pick them and how they would be picked.
You mentioned finances. I was going to say that. Is this all about money? Imagine a Tyson Fury or a Floyd Mayweather at the Olympics. The Olympics can go out and sell to huge advertisers, make loads of money off the back of it. Is that really what it's all about, maybe?
Who knows? But if it is, you're dealing with men that know that they're the ones that brought in that advertising. They're going to want money from it. Why would Tyson Fury, who's worked his whole career, amateur and pro, like I say, and had it a rough ride as a pro, with fights falling through and not getting the recognition that he deserves, and finally, even now as world champion, he's not getting the recognition he deserves from the belts that, the governing bodies that he won their belt. The IBF belt was taken off him. The WBA has got like 3 belts. So he's still working to get that recognition. But he's finally reached a point where at least he is financially being rewarded for all his efforts. Do you think then that he's going to step into the Olympics, let the Olympics say, oh, we'll just be using you to market all this and bring in, advertising and funding, and that he's not going to say, slow down, boys, I want some of that belongs to me? And if he does, rightly so, because it's him that's bringing that attention, that money, so he does deserve it. But what about the rest of your teammates? They'll be looking at you thinking, you're making a whole heap here. What about me? And how would the money be split up? So it's. I just don't see how they're going to do it. That don't mean they ain't going to do it. I just don't see how they're going to do it. But I do think AIBA have just, I think they're going a long way towards ruining the sport. They keep changing their minds, even about a pro coach can work with an amateur, and then he can't, then he can. Headgear's on and off. There's just they're changing the rules consistently, and that's about the only thing they're doing consistently, is flipping changing things. And I think they're ruining the amateur game. There's so many seniors leaving the amateur game now to do white collar because they haven't got a clue what's going on within it, and it's a shame. because the amateur game is what builds our pros, and it's mostly juniors now in the amateurs. You know, of course there's a whole heap of seniors in it, but it's mostly juniors. There's, especially around the West Country, and that there's so many of the seniors leaving out of the game just because they can't be bothered. So AIBA is supposed to be developing our amateurs game and adding to it and helping us to grow young boxers that might want to move on in the future and turn pro, and instead they're ruining it.
Sounds like they've got a big decision to make, and it could be very pivotal in the sport. If they do make that decision, which professionals can you see actually turning over, or can you just see it being kind of a damp squid where it's like they made this decision, but actually the professionals are going to stay the professionals, and it's all been a big fuss about nothing?
I don't know. Think about it. Let's look at a few names and look at Floyd. He got 200 million for 6 fights. That was his minimum. So, how much are you going to pay him? Do you think he's going to do it for peanuts? Do you think he's even going to do it for a few million? Not a chance. Look at Tyson Fury. Worked his whole career, been slighted, had things going against him, to finally get himself to a position where now he's earning the millions he deserves. Is he going to go over there for a few $100,000 or a couple of million? I don't know. Maybe he will. Maybe he'd like to. I don't know. I can't answer for that man, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to. And if I was advising somebody or managing somebody, just like, we've got worked too hard to get to where we are now. You're going to step over there for some peanuts compared to what we're getting. So who are they going to get? If it's somebody who's a world champion, who's in fights that are earning him significantly good money, that are life-changing money to them, are they going to then come over there for something that once the Olympics is over, that's it? So have they lost their position? Don't forget all these belts. You got, look at Tyson. He got the IBF belt taken away from him straight away because he wasn't going to defend against their champion, because he had contractual obligation to defend against Klitschko. So what happens if, while they're in the Olympics, that they have a mandatory defence come up, you know, or just after it, and they get injured, so they can't fulfil that obligation, and then they're stripped for the sake of one tournament? It could ruin the next few years of their career afterwards.
Does it then favour a boxer whose career is maybe stalling, can't get the fights? Let me give you an example. Right at home, Jamie Cox, won gold at the Commonwealth, decided not to go to the Olympics. A lot of talk over whether that was the right or the wrong decision. He's almost in the mix. He's almost there world title wise, but he could still be another 3-4 months with boxing politics away from that world title shot. He could dip into the Olympics, win gold, and what a great marketing PR exercise that would be for his career. Could actually work for somebody like him at the moment.
Listen, if you're picking Jamie as a specific, then it could, because he's just hell on 2 legs, isn't he? Once that bell comes out, he's all over you like a rash. So 3 rounds, he'd be a nightmare. He could probably knock everyone out in the way to get it, and it would be a fantastic promotional tool for him. But how many people in his situation? You know, because don't forget the situation that you're saying, because he is avoided, and the style that he fights. He's a world-class puncher, quick hands, combination puncher, and just jumps on you the second the bell goes. He's jumping on you while you're touching gloves. So, you know, it would suit him. But how many people would it suit in that situation? And so it suits him. That's one thing. But now, what about the other amateurs, like I say, that have gone, hang on, I've put years into this. I've been up in the GB squad for years. Why is he allowed to step back in and do this? I just don't see how you're going to keep the majority of your fighters, not just in this country, in any country, the majority of your amateur elite squad happy when you go and pick somebody else who hasn't been putting the effort in for that specific reason. Hard enough for the guys on the GB squad to realise they didn't qualify, but at least they're happy, for want of a better description, that one of their teammates did. But can you imagine it's somebody that's long since left the amateurs? Jamie's been a pro, 5-6 years? So for that reason. So would it suit somebody like Jamie in his situation? Yeah, he could actually go on, do gold and come back. Would it, the overall picture, what about now when the Olympics is over and all those other amateurs that were on the squad was, you know what, screw this. I ain't hanging around for this again. Get mistreated again, put everything on hold. They train like pros. They put their family, they put everything on hold to work so hard just to have somebody else step in and take it. I think in the long run it would ruin things.
So bottom line, your message to Haiba is don't do it.
Just keep your flipping nose out. Get on with your flipping amateur system. That's my message to Haiba. Stop ruining the bleeding amateur game, man. Because that's what they're doing, ruining the amateur game. Just stick to what they're doing. Leave the pros do what they're doing. And that's it. Get out.
I tend to agree, and I think the majority of boxing fans will agree as well. And let's hope this is all it's been an interesting talking point, but let's hope it's all a big fuss about nothing. So, Thanks once again, Paddy, for joining us. Appreciate it.
Keep smiling.
Thank you.